Welcome to 1492 Capital Management's website. My name is Joe Frona, one of the founders and portfolio managers here on the small cap growth product. I've got with me today Rod Dameron, who is our co-manager on the growth product, and Rodney Hathaway, who is our portfolio manager on the small cap value product. As a refresher to our prior video on thematic investing, which I hope you had a chance to review, this is really kind of a more detailed follow-up on how we actually deploy it here at 1492. Just a quick refresher, thematic investing is really nothing more than buying a number of companies who all benefit from the same trends or economic forces. And I typically get asked, well, how do you find your themes? And I always say it's really nothing more than hard work and keeping your ear to the ground, paying a lot of attention to what companies are telling you. To that end, we've had over 60 companies come through our office here at 1492 over the last 2 months. And we've really come to appreciate a number of fundamental drivers that are being seen out there in the economy, contrary to the sort of dour headlines that you read and hear on the news every day. And I'm going to turn it over to Rod Dameron here in a second to talk about one of the themes that we've identified here just in the last month or so. Rod, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Joe. At a time when the economy is contracting and most stock indices are at or near 10-year lows, we continue to search for themes within the global economy that are experiencing growth. There are several ways a new theme is identified, but I thought I would share with you one example of a recent theme that we're deploying in the small cap growth product. I was having a conversation with a CEO of an electronics distribution company, a CEO that I've actually known for about 10 years in the industry, and we were having this conversation in mid-January. Talking about his business in the electronics industry. Currently, electronic sales are down 15 to 20% on a year-over-year basis, and it's no surprise that his business is also seeing a 15 to 20% contraction. But there was a glimmer of hope in his business. I was talking a little bit about his China exposure. There's about 30% of his business, particularly, that is that's in China, and he said in that specific geography, he's seeing strong growth and, in fact, accelerating growth. And what's really driving that is 3G, which is basically the third generation wireless technology that's being deployed in China throughout the secondary cities. And China's planning to spend $41 billion in deploying this infrastructure throughout the country over the 2-year period, throughout 2009 and 2010. So I mentioned this theme to Joe, who said he actually had played this, this theme back a few years ago when China was rolling out 2G. So he knew many of the companies there, and so we started doing the due diligence on a number of these companies. We spoke with sell-side analysts that cover the industry. We actually spoke with many of the companies directly. We spoke with their suppliers and their customers. And we uncovered 10 to 12 names in this theme, fundamentally, that are benefiting from this growth. Then we started paring it back on which of these companies also have a good valuation. We're looking at enterprise value sales, enterprise value EBITDA, based off of historical trends as well as where they're trading currently. And we found a good 5 or 6 names that we have put into the portfolio back in mid-January, and we anticipate playing this theme for a good 6 to 12 months.
And to that end, Rob, I had a chance to sit down with one of our holdings out in California this week, which is a Chinese-based company who's really at the forefront of the whole 3G deployment in China right now. And they reiterated the fact that they are really seeing a nice acceleration in that business. And that is one of the current holdings that we have today. And just to leverage off of what Rob was saying, we don't just find just the guys that are playing the telecom space, because it's far broader than that. And this is how we really take a theme and find additional ways to play it. We have a battery company that plays off, that deploy reserve power behind it. And it's not just the simple guy who's deploying the telecom infrastructure. There's a lot more ways to play this theme. So just to leverage off of what Rob was saying, we really think this theme has a lot of tailwind behind it, and that's how we really deploy it across the board in our portfolio.
So with that, I guess I'll just turn it over to Rodney to talk a bit more about valuations.
Thanks, Rob. As Rob alluded to, once the theme has been identified at our investment strategy, we take that and we take a very close look at valuation. Valuation is very important for us, both in the growth strategy as well as value strategy. We want to take a look at all the major financial statements of the company, the balance sheet, most important for us on the value side. We want to look for those companies that have low debt, that have high cash balance, that have the ability to fund their own growth internally versus having to go to the market for additional capital resources. We look at both of the historical and current valuation levels for these companies, and so we look at it on an absolute and a relative basis. That's important because we want to make sure that these companies, which are typically cyclical in nature, are appropriately valued in this environment. Typical parameters that we'll look at are enterprise value of sales, enterprise value to EBITDA, price to tangible book value, and again, low debt is very important. So when we combine the valuation and that strict discipline that we use with the themes that we identify by our research process and combine the two, we're able to put together a portfolio for our investors that have good fundamentals and a strong valuation to support that stock price.
Well, thank you for taking the time to review this video. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to update you on further themes and our thoughts on the overall market. So please check back on a regular basis. Thank you for your time.